If you're looking for a clean, sober, professional, academic,
well-researched, historically accurate, generally accurate, serious podcast
on Southern folklore, ghosts, bizarre events, and unique people,
this podcast is not for you.
However, if you've decided you can live with that,
then join us for The Strange South.
The Strange South.
You know what I said? My cure, I started it in Denver and haven't stopped. Vaseline.
Oh my God.
Put it all over your face.
On my
lips,
face.
hands. I've been doing it
Me
since
too.
November. It's good. It's
like
great,
my
isn't it?
eyebrows, my eyebrows get like really flaky and stuff.
I get it across here.
People
I
use it
do
to
it
shape their eyebrows.
there, and I do like my lips just right
I mean,
all
straight up
over. Yep.
out of the jar every night and every morning.
Petroleum.
And look how beautiful my skin
Petroleum.
looks.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
All right, now then.
All right, now then. I'm so southern. Love it.
I've been listening to Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Oh, that's right.
Lovely.
There's a lot of real slow
Mm-hmm.
Southern
South
dialect in
Carolina.
there.
Yeah.
Savannah.
That is pretty good.
That was good.
I know.
We call that old southern.
Well, when we went to Savannah just a couple of weeks ago, we went to the Mercer Williams house, which is what the book is about, Jim Williams and the Mercer house. So,
And we
I had
actually
to re-listen to it.
I didn't talk about this, I don't think, on the show because she wasn't here. But one of the things that they talked about constantly at the Mercer Williams house was the number of different movies that have been filmed there.
Yeah.
And one of them was it Swamp Thing 2?
Swamp Thing or The Thing?
The Thing.
The Thing 1 and The Thing Returns.
And it had like
Thing?
Heather Locklear or some shit in it. And it was like this random, I was like, we have to put this on our list of things we have to watch because they were filmed in they were also filmed. The Thing 2, where The Thing Returns, was filmed like in the area of the house that you actually don't get to see in your tours or anything like that. Anyway,
Okay.
so we have to watch it.
Interesting.
Anyway.
I think it's The Thing.
Well, The Thing was like a really good sci-fi movie.
Maybe it was the Swamp Thing then.
Swamp Thing was a little more kitschy.
Kitschy might be what we're going
southern
at here.
because the thing
Okay,
was
then it
in
was the Swamp Thing.
Antarctica.
Swamp Thing.
There was no.
No, definitely
Then you're
Swamp
right,
Thing.
it was Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
And then the
I
second
actually
one.
liked the first Swamp Thing.
But the other one was Glory. Besides the movie.
Glory was the non-Swamp
with-
Thing movie that he
with
kept on
Denzel
bringing up.
Washington. And then, of course, the movie, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
The
All
house
right,
is
sorry.
gorgeous. Sorry.
Gorgeous.
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 Oh, you did it.
Mhm.
Cheers.
I can't even try to do that. That was beautiful.
Cheers.
Mm.
Cheers. We're all going to practice our old lady southern.
We're going to New Orleans.
No, you didn't say that right there.
What do you say then?
She just gave me a look.
You don't say Nolans.
You don't say, no, that's what they say in the movies. In Nolans. You gotta go to Nolans. Do you want more Strange South every week? We can help. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can join our Facebook fan group, Fans of the Strange South Podcast, to keep the chat going with our whole creepy community. Do you have a story idea for us or a story of your own to share? Email us at stories@thestrangesouth.com. Plus, if you join our Patreon, you not only help support the podcast, you get an exclusive bonus episode for every show and a discount on merch. You can find links to all of these things on our website, thestrangesouth.com, along with photos, links, and show notes from every episode, Strange South t-shirts, mugs, and other goodies. See you there.
All right, go ahead. You can go now.
Thank you.
Done talking. I've missed y'all. Sorry.
Interesting that we're talking about the Swamp Thing. No, don't get too excited.
Oh.
Because it's sci-fi, right? Unless you're a skipper and you don't know anything about us, then just skip. We're not talking to you.
management of a ship. You're a
Captain,
skipper,
Are
like
you
on
a
a
Gilligan
ship.
or are you a
Are
skipper?
you Mr. Howe? Right? So if you're a skipper, just go and skip.
Are you a
Mm,
you're a
I won't
skipper?
Start now, right?
Skip
But
on.
I've talked about how like the horror movies and the sci-fi movies of my youth have really like made an impression and started me down like this road of like reading all the Stephen King and reading and honestly I didn't start reading sci-fi until I was a little bit older, but you know, all of these things that caused me to like be terrified and traumatized as a child that really shaped my adulthood. One of those things, besides Salem's Lot, Marleah's favorite TV show, miniseries,
I
thank
really
you,
like the book though.
was The Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh.
Did y'all watch that?
I've never seen it.
No.
So the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers was like another movie that I saw as a child that scared and scarred me in a good way and had me questioning the people that I was in contact with every single day, because it's the idea of like pod people. It's like plants, aliens taking over the people that are around you, that look like the people around you, that act somewhat like the people around you, but actually really want you to be another pod person.
Which is like the fodder of all conspiracy theorists through all time, right? Like,
Yeah, it's the lizard people.
Yeah.
Like that's the big one now, right?
it was in, I think they had it, I think that's what they were playing at midnight showing in Gremlins. I think Billy and the little Mogwai were watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Right.
In Gremlins.
Which the 70s version was actually a remake of the original 1950s version. And, you know, a lot of the remakes in the 70s were from, you know, of sci-fi stuff was from the 50s. And it's because it was right after World War II and we had dropped the atomic bomb, which kind of, besides doing horrific things to Japan, it kind of blew everybody's mind in the U.S. And after that, after the war stopped because of the bomb, we went into kind of this atomic age where like the future is now. And that's where we get, you know, these what ifs, these sci-fis like The Blob, you know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers and all the different sci-fi and horror things that come out, you know, Godzilla, you know, the things, you know, as far as like radioactive things, Ninja Turtles, you know, all of that. So it was kind of like the great what if and looking outside of ourselves. And then, you know, just like maybe 10 years or so after that, we went to the moon, you know, kind of deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never actually heard those two things referenced like together, but that was a really short amount of time between those things.
It really was.
No wonder people were so fucked up about it.
Yeah. I mean, people were actually thinking that.
So from what year to 69, 68?
Well, it was just 20 years from, you know, 49, wasn't it 49 or so when the war ended?
I think I was going to say 49.
45.
Was it 45?
Yeah. But still with, you know, in a generation.
But that's a really short amount of time between like
within a generation.
Realizing that you can eradicate entire countries of people at
with
once.
atomic bombs.
And then fly to the moon.
Fly to the moon. And it's like, holy shit, nothing we ever believed is real anymore.
In a generation. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
The 40s to the 60s. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Huge
mean,
jumps.
Huge. No wonder we're all fucked up. So anyway, so the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, again, scared the shit out of me. Like I, again, cocooned myself into my bed. So not only
like
vampires,
a pod person?
like a pod person. So pod people couldn't get at me and like wrap their tentacle vines around me and go up my nose and inhabit my brain. This is the things that honestly I kind of still think about sometimes.
Well, yeah.
You know, and we were talking about The Last of Us, you know, the whole fungus infection, zombie apocalypse. I mean, it all leads us to here, right?
I hate the opening scene because the opening scene was just scientists in like 70s suits sitting at a talk show talking about the fact
Smoking
that like
cigarettes.
all you needed was a couple of degrees of warmth. For these fungi that had like destroyed cicadas and ants and all that kind of shit and turned them into zombies.
Make it too relatable.
To live inside the human body. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Right? That is your nightmare. Yes. And all of these things, yeah, it's like it could possibly
That's why,
happen.
for real. It was just like, oh my God.
It's the whole thing about the thing, too. So the thing is this alien that gets, found in the Arctic and thawed, and it's, again, global warming.
Well, because that's how they're finding like age-old viruses in the ice caps and the glaciers that are thawing now because of global warming.
Right. So, yeah, all of this thing, and we've been through the pandemic, so we know that, how our fucked up reaction to things are. So,
our grandparents is us now.
Yeah. And if not, more so, kind of.
We should watch out.
We should.
We're going to start shaking our cane at people now.
Oh, my God. Yes. Give me a cane to shake at people. So body snatchers, start thinking about that. Skinwalkers, goat men,
God, the
mimics, changelings, and doppelgangers.
Doppelgangers.
So today we're going to talk about doppelgangers.
That seems like that's a very X-Files kind of topic, I think.
Yes. And it's not a new idea. I mean, all of these things, like there's tons of stories about a body double throughout ancient history and everything. And I wish I could say the body snatchers just popped into my brain, but actually I was on TikTok.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord. And I don't know what it is about. I mean, TikTok is the worst rabbit hole you could absolutely go down. And I hate TikTok and I love TikTok. But every time I go to the TikTok app, it always blares something obnoxious at me. It's like you can't get the sound to turn down. So it's like you can't subtly open TikTok when you're in a meeting or anything like that, because it's going to call you out, right? So I was on TikTok. And this video came up of this lady called the Tiffinator 7. Well, it's just Tiffinator 7, not but Tiffinator 7, which makes me giggle a little bit. And it's this lady from Tennessee, strong Southern accent, Appalachian Southern accent. And she's telling this story. And I'm going to give you a little bit of the story because it's pretty relevant and what got me down this rabbit hole. But she said that she had a friend, and she talks about the paranormal because a lot of things happen to her a lot. And it's just her face in the screen telling you this story in this Appalachian accent that you're just like, oh, shit. Yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. So she's telling the story about her friend who has a little sister. And that day they were off of school, and her mom took her little sister to the doctor because I think she wasn't feeling well or anything. And her friend stayed home, and she was like 12 or something like that. She's in there in her room, and she hears something, and she goes into her little sister's room, and sitting in her little sister's room is her sister with her back to the door. And she was like, what are you doing home? I thought you went with mom, kind of deal. And, the little sister didn't say anything to her. It really kind of freaked her out because she's like, I know my little sister went with my mom to the doctor. And so she runs back into her room and she locks the door until her mom gets home. And so her mom and her little sister finally come home, and, she comes out and she looks at them and she's like terrified. She's like, so scared. And she tells them what happened. She's like, y'all had left and I heard something, like some giggling or something. And I went into her little sister's room, and I was like, and she was sitting there with the back turned to the door and everything. And her little sister goes, she's like, oh, don't worry. Don't be scared. She's like, sometimes I see me too. I know, right? So I was like, holy fuck, that is so scary. So that got me thinking about mimics and doppelgangers. And I started doing some Google searching on mimics, and everything that I tried to pull up on a mimic was either D&D.
Oh.
Or it was go pray to Jesus. Like it was very like, if you had God, this would not happen to you kind of deal. And
God decrees there is only one of every person.
Right. And it was very like, I couldn't get past the religious comebacks.
That's so weird.
I know, for all of this, like people asking about mimics and stuff, because, mimics are supposedly demons. And they're like, well, if you know the Lord and demon blah, and I just like phased out. I just like,
just like in church.
that's not, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was like, where's the peppermint? Okay. I was thinking like, that's a scary story. Mimics. Okay. I looked for that. D&D or the church, not really giving me.
The Church of D&D.
The Church of D&D, which is a thing.
Let's make that a thing.
It's a thing. Right. But the D&D also kind of made me laugh a little bit. We so need like a Southern D&D branch. Like we need to make, Southern bohags.
Characters, yeah.
Yeah, three-legged ladies and, hugging mollies and all of that stuff. Are you writing that down?
I'm going to write that down.
We want 10% y'all if you make this happen. This is our idea, intellectual property right now. Also, if you are interested, which you should be, because this is the Strange South and you're listening to us, if you have not checked out Stacey Williams-Ing's Southern Oracle deck, it is amazing. It's like a tarot. It is beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's tarot cards, all with Southern themes. She's from Memphis. And if you want to check her out, it's the SouthernGothicOracle.com. It is really nice stuff. And it's a nice Southern Tattia Southern collection. Southern Gothic collection. We're not going to talk about mimics. We're going to talk about doppelgangers. Okay. Because it's kind of in the family.
I was going to say, I'm not really sure I understand the difference, so.
Yeah, there's really not much other than that mimics are supposed to be demons. Doppelgangers can be demon-esque, but we'll talk about what defines a doppelganger. It's a cool looking word, first of all.
Yeah, I love it.
Got the two little dots above the A that I could never find on the type. I have to copy and paste because I don't know where that lives in my keystrokes, right? It's actually German for double goer or double walker, which is interesting, right? But it may not, I think it may be more of the double goer translation, because originally, before the whole doppelgang, y'all, I'm gonna fuck this word up, doppelganger
got it
word came about, it meant a 2-course meal that was served simultaneously. So it was about food.
Why would you do that? So it's about a food faux pas. Why are we going to feed? What is this? 2 courses at one time?
I think it was probably a trend.
A trend or a tradition.
Why would you say one gets cold?
Thing?
What the fuck? Like, I'm upset.
I don't know. Maybe you want pizza and mashed potatoes. I don't know.
No, I can't support that.
Pizza and fish. Well, mashed potatoes is not really like.
I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, reactions to bad recipes.
2 entrees at the same time.
Yeah, it's basically doppelgangers.
Like ziti and
entree is
roast chicken.
So. Right.
What so one of them gets cold.
It's like a buffet. Sometimes you want chicken and beef.
Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't.
It's like surf and turf.
Surf and turf.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. I got you now. The surf and turf.
But the actual word used as meaning like your second person was introduced by a German author named Jean Paul, or as we would pronounce here in America, Jean Paul.
That's French, though, isn't it? Like,
it is. Maybe he was like a Frenchman in Germany. We do not know these things.
We do not know these things.
It's probably out there for us to know, but we don't really.
It's Europe. They're all the same.
It's Europe.
Right. But it didn't come about until like 1796. And he wrote a novel called, oh, fuck, I'm going to do this. It wasn't called Oh, Fuck.
Oh, fuck. It's called Oh, Fuck, I'm going to do this. Right. I want to read that.
I'm going to write that one down, too.
Oh, Jean Paul. Oh, fuck, I'm going to do this.
Oh, fuck, I'm going to do this.
Oh, fuck, I'm going to do this.
We need a more drink. We need a more drink.
We all need a more drink.
We all empty.
Yes. Let me tell you what his novel is called.
I'm ready.
It's called
Oh, fuck.
it's called It's Sabinkas, which I probably just totally fucked up that German pronunciation, and it means 7 cheeses.
Oh.
That's the name of the novel.
7 cheeses.
Sabinkas. Yes.
That's not German. Hold on. I have to look this up.
It has the 2 dots above the A. It is German.
German doesn't use a lot of umlauts. Hold on.
Fräulein.
7 Cheeses Explained, the Ultimate Cheese Guide. That's what I came up with. That is not correct.
Anyway, it's a
Go ahead.
German romantic novel.
Called 7 Cheeses.
Called 7 Cheeses, which was the name of one of the characters.
Their name was 7 Cheeses.
It's German. You know the Germans. We don't understand the Germans, right? And so, anyway.
We're sorry, Reiner.
Right? Sorry. We don't understand you. And your 2 course as entrees at the same time.
7 cheese romance.
Cheese romance.
I will be waiting for your email.
But it's the 7 cheese romance, basically. And we'll talk when we go more into the doppelganger literary stuff. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But in German folklore, doppelganger is like a wraith or a apparition of a lemon.
A lemon?
Wow.
Of a living person, but not a ghost or a plant, right?
Or a plant. Well, it could be not a ghost or a plant or an animal.
Or an animal.
Coffee table, but this specifically not a plant.
It's specifically not a plant. Not a pod person.
Or a ghost.
Not a pod person.
It's also the idea of the existence of a spirit double, like an exact duplicate. And there's invisible replicas of every person or every bird or every beast. So that's kind of like the idea behind doppelganger, although the idea existed way before the word did.
So that there's an invisible replica of every living thing.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Okay,
So
I had to look this up because I had to figure out the connection between German and the thing that you said. And the thing that you said would be Siebenkäse, which is 7 cheese.
Okay.
Siebenkäse in German.
It
because we have a
S.
very close to us German listener who I think will swear me.
Right. You can swear me because...
Actually, he won't because he's super cool.
Right?
He's probably laughing his little ass off right now.
My gosh. So thank you. Yes, I will have you look up the words and say them correctly.
Well, do you mind if I try and do the novel's full title?
Yes, do it.
Because it says, look how long it is. See what's in bold?
Sure.
Is 4 lines long.
Mm-hmm. Germans.
Okay, hold on. Blumen, Frucht und Dornenstücke oder Ehestand, Tod und Hochzeit des Armenadvot. I don't know what that is. F. St. Siebenkäse im Reich schmacht Flächen Kuhschnappel.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That means like 7 cheese pizza.
I think so.
Oh, I'm
It was
sorry.
just
You can delete all that.
I loved it. Gorgeous sounds. Gorgeous sounds. German language.
It is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. So sorry.
No, that's fine. So, but this whole double idea is ancient. Like you have a double invisible or visible person is an ancient idea. And it's so widespread that you kind of wonder, like, is it true? Because it's in almost every culture has like a doppelganger tale folklore.
Like the flood and like the
flood
that makes you think like, there's got to be something to that.
Something that's making people talk about this, right? In most folklore, it's to meet yourself is a sign that your death is imminent.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So like if you pass...
Is the other person going to take over?
Well, they could. A doppelganger is often said to appear in one's sleep or if you fall ill. Some believe that when your bodies are weakened, that your spirits may like depart and wander free in like this realm. It really depends on like the context of the doppelganger encounter that determines exactly what's going to happen. Culturally, like English and German folklore, seeing your own double 3 times means that your death would soon follow.
Holy cow.
And
3 times.
In ancient Egypt, which, we're talking about like way back, So this is how long that this has been around. Your spirit or your double is called the Ka, and it's an aspect of your soul, and it depicts the spirit that's identical to the body. In other parts of Europe and Africa, doppelgangers could be like changeling, or they're referred to as changelings, where they're thought to be like supernatural children left in place of human infants. So kind of like the Fae stories, right? Norse mythology or folklore, it's a Vardodger, which is a spirit predecessor. It is less ominous than like what we think about as doppelgangers, and it's more like deja vu. So in Norse folklore, it simply means that you're appearing in a place, or your doppelganger is appearing in the place before you are. And it's leading others to believe that you had already arrived. So you'd never be late for a meeting. So it's like, in Norse tradition, it's like your person would get there first, save you a spot, and then you would actually get there. So it's kind of a great thing. I kind of like the Norse version there. More English and Irish literature of the 18th and 19th century speak of the fetch, which is an ethereal double whose appearance, like the doppelganger, signals death. So it's usually not good to see your double in most instances, unless your double's holding your seat at the movies or a meeting or, in line or something, right? In literature, we talked about how doppelganger the word itself came about from our German author, Jean Paul. In that book, his, 7 cheese character there exchanged identities with his friend, look-alike, which he was called Liebgeber, which means body giver, which was the alter ego. So it was a, comedy. It was a rom-com with cheese doubles going on.
Double cheese. Extra. Doppelganger,
the idea of doppelgangers is like really kind of perfect or perfectly used for literary devices, because it can explore like the human duality. So they use it a lot. Y'all have seen like all the movies where it's like the evil twin or the person like single white female kind of something. Yeah.
I think the first time I learned that term was when I was in high school and we did Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah,
that was
Jekyll and Hyde.
That was where I learned doppelganger. I was like, oh, it's so fancy. What a big word.
That is like exactly my next sentence there. It's often used to personify dark traits of the character, which Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is perfect. And it's what my son's currently reading, which is awesome. So it became a very popular symbol in horror literature and in games nowadays. The double, which was written in 1846 by, hold on to this, Prodor.
What?
Let me get through this Kavovsky sounding name. Dostoyevsky.
Oh, Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Yes.
I didn't even say it right.
No.
Dostoevsky.
What the fuck she said.
Yeah.
Which was the double was a poor clerk. I'm not going to pronounce his name. We're just going to call him Holy Adkins, because that's as close as I can make to it. Anyway, he was driven to madness by poverty and unrequited love, but he, during being driven to this madness, he beholds his own wraith who succeeds in everything which he has failed.
Son of a bitch.
I know.
That would suck.
It really does. And I think that's a lot in literature. It's like when they have the double that usually is evil but gets everything that you ever wanted, and then you die. It's
wow, that's dark.
It is pretty dark.
Leaves it to the Russians to bring out the true darkness. Dostoevsky's Russian.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes, German Russians. No distinction, but it is kind of it's Slavic language, so similar language. Okay, So there is a well-known story of a doppelganger that appears in the novel of some more German words that basically means the devil's elixir.
Ooh.
And in the devil's elixir, it depicts a monk who is haunted by a chaotic double, in turn acts as a scapegoat and an antagonist. So, the monk trying to do the monk thing, holy, pure stuff, and then it's really kind of like the little devil on your shoulder that's doing all the bad things. Or if you do something bad, you blame it on your doppelganger, right? Doppelgangers prevalent in Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales. There's one called this Skyjin, or the shadow. In this fairy tale, a man's shadow separates from his body and gradually becomes his walking double, demonstrating the exact opposite physical and moral traits, and eventually replacing him entirely. Edgar Allan Poe has a doppelganger in his short story William Wilson, which seems to exist solely to ruin the narrator's life. And there was rumors and myths that Catherine the Great had a doppelganger. There is one tale that recounts her servants, whatever, discovering her double sitting on her throne while she was actually asleep. And the Empress discovered the imposter and then shot them. And as kind of a consequence, or of a just casual, like, maybe you shouldn't have shot your doppelganger, because she died of a stroke like several weeks later.
Oh, weird.
I know.
Wasn't it common, though, for like royalty to have someone that looked like them?
In Star Wars, it is.
Yeah. So that they'll be the target. It's almost like your bodyguard, your doppelganger. It's like
it is a story trope, right? That you have somebody that stands in for you so that somebody will shoot that person and not you.
Yeah, right? For dignitaries and...
Yeah. Right. It makes
sense. That's a good point.
He's like, nah, this bitch ain't sitting on my throne. She goes...
She's off with her head. All right. Percy Shelley, who wrote of a double in Prometheus Unbound, is later claimed to have seen his own doppelganger before his death in 1822.
Right before his death.
Right before his death. So his better half, Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, later said that...
Frankenstein.
Fuck. Sorry.
No, I'm joking. It's from Young Frankenstein. I'm sorry.
Trees.
No, it's from the movie. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Which one? Young Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
That was great.
I'm an asshole.
This is Marleah's doppelganger that's here today.
No, this is just me. I'll own it.
So, Mary Shelley, she said that Percy had visions of like strangling her, and mentioned in an episode.
Really?
One of his episodes, or mentioned like he had an episode in which his double approached him and, was talking to him. And she wrote to a friend while all of this was happening right before his death, and was talking about how scary this was. And she had talked to him about it, after he had this encounter with his doppelganger, and told her that, he had had many visions lately, and he saw a figure of himself which met him as he walked on the terrace, and his vision said to him, "How long do you mean to be content?" Which is like some scary shit.
Is this the way people dealt with their psychic breaks in like Victorian times?
Right.
Is this just how you narrated your own psychic break? Because like, oh yeah, my doppelganger wants me to kill you, wife who like got everybody to like her book immediately.
Better than mine.
Actually, I don't know if that happened immediately, but anyways, it lasted longer.
Exactly. Right. Percy who? So in 1860, though, right after the election of Abraham Lincoln, he saw his reflection doubled in a mirror with one face beside the other, and one of the face was like ghostly pale.
Oh.
When he tried to show his wife this doubling, which appeared 2 more times, she couldn't see it. Mary Todd was, of course, very worried about this behavior and what he was talking about. But she took this vision as a sign that he would serve 2 more terms, but then he died before the end of his second.
I'm not really sure how that's a vision of I'm going to serve 2 more. Look, I see 2 more of myself.
Yeah. I don't know
what you do, what you got to do.
Whatever gets
Hubby
you through the
comes
day.
to you and says, like, hey,
when
do you see the second me?
And when you're
like,
okay, you're clearly having a psychotic break. I'm not going to deal with it, but maybe this is a good luck thing and we're 2 more terms.
Everything's fine, honey.
Everything's fine. You're going to do great. So in the South, there's home, of course, like Appalachian tales and numerous accounts of doppelgangers and mimics and stuff like we talked about. And there was a sighting of similar like circumstance of like seeing a doppelganger. And although when in this telling of the folklore, your doppelganger meant that you would become very ill, not necessarily that you would die. So there's a story that was printed in the issue of Sunny South in 1884 about a county clerk from Chihuahua. Okay. So we're just going to say, I'm just pronouncing it how it looks. Maybe not how it is, but how it looks, who contracted malaria. So Chihuahua is a pre-Civil War town that no longer exists. It's a ghost town now. And it's actually Alabama's most famous ghost town. And it's near Orrville, Alabama, which is just west of Salem.
Oh.
Not Salem.
Selma.
I was like, Salem. Wait, what?
Do we have a Salem, Alabama?
No,
It's not impossible.
They
I
can mean
think we do
Selma.
have a Salem,
We might.
Alabama.
But do you mean Selma?
But I mean Selma. Yeah.
On this MLK Day,
Yes.
as a matter of fact.
As a matter of
And
fact.
Bless Selma and all the other
Oh my
tornado
gosh.
places this week.
The
Yeah.
tornadoes.
Yes.
Absolutely. This county clerk one night woke up shivering and able to sleep, and he saw the shadow of a man enter his room. And as his visitor approached his bed, the clerk saw in the dim light that the face looked down on him was his own. When the same incident occurred the next night, the clerk called to some friends to corroborate his stories, and both men, both practical farmers, arrived as soon as they could. The farmers kept watch as their friend tried to sleep and were startled late in the night as the figure of the clerk himself stepped into the candlelight. So the men approached the double, which retreated back into the shadows, and they never saw the visitor again, and the clerk succumbed to his illness soon after that final encounter. So again, it's a bad omen. Doppelgangers pretty much represent a bad omen. Although, let's look at this through the lens of science a little bit, and this is your PSA to take your med. So, psychology. There is a neurological condition called heutoscopy, which is when a person hallucinates their own image at a distance. So, heutoscopy may occur in as a symptom of schizophrenia or epilepsy. So, definitely dealing with mind here. There's a similar condition to this called autoscopy, which means self-watcher. And it is when people have outer body experiences and they see not only themselves, but themselves in the environment. And the root cause for autoscopy is unclear. So it's not like a condition of or a symptom of schizophrenia or epilepsy. They don't know why it happens. This experience can include like non-mirroring real-time images, and the experiencer may be able to move around while this is happening. So not necessarily like going into a Zen-like state or near-death state and seeing yourself in your own environment. Some people have kind of this outer body experiences while they're still moving around and doing stuff. It's just, man,
That's weird.
I know. It is really
That's
weird.
hard to imagine.
It is. The brain is incredible, right? All right. So this condition may be linked more to like the ancient doppelganger encounters that we think about and why it's so pervasive. There's also something called the mirrored self misidentification. And this is, pause for a loud vehicle, which you probably can't hear.
Yeah, I don't know that they could.
It was distracting. Anyway, So there is a condition called mirrored self misidentification, and it's the delusional belief that one's reflection in the mirror is another person.
Oh.
It's typically a younger or a second version of yourself, a stranger, or a relative.
Huh.
And that condition is called by the right hemisphere cranial dysfunction. It's usually a result from traumatic brain injury, stroke, or some other neurological illness. While that does explain, you seeing the double of yourself and maybe why you die shortly thereafter because there's something wrong that,
With
like a
your
stroke,
brain?
that would cause you to die afterwards. But it does not necessarily explain, a shared experience with other people of seeing your doppelganger.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an article that I saw earlier, like a few months ago, right when it came out in August of last year, that CNN put out. And the name of it is Have You a Doppelganger? The probable, let me restate that. You have a doppelganger and probably share DNA with them, new study suggests. That's the name of it. So the article talks about these two friends in Atlanta, Charlie Chasen and Michael Malone. And people would often get them too confused and mistake them for one another. They're not cousins, they're not related, but they look almost identical. And I will show you, and I'll post some pictures of the two doppelgangers. It's really interesting in this article. So, these two people, these two men that live in Atlanta, they have separate ancestors. Their ancestors are from separate parts of the world. Michael's family came from the Bahamas and the Dominican Republic, while Charlie's family came from Scotland and Lithuania. They look so similar that facial recognition software had a hard time telling them apart and identified them as identical twins.
Weird.
So scientists, though, actually think they kind of know why, or they're going down this path trying to figure out why, that they think it's possible for everybody to have, it's possible for you to have a doppelganger of yourself that you're not directly related to. And this includes your doppelganger would be a similar weight to you, have similar lifestyle factors, and similar behavioral traits as well, such as smoking and educational levels. So it's not just like your redneck doppelganger or your Harvard doppelganger, where
you know why?
Environment
shapes.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely that they brought behavior. That up into
that's behavior, people,
right? So the research was done in Spain by Dr. Manuel Esteller, and he was looking. He studied identical twins, and then it kind of took him to people who look alike but have no actual family connection going back 100 years or more, and there was an art piece that somebody did where it was they pulled together a bunch of doppelganger, a bunch of people who looked the same.
I think.
Yeah. And I forgot. I didn't write down what the art project was. I'll post that in the show notes. But he took this art piece where this artist pulled together all of these pairs of people that looked together, and they found 32 pairs, and they did DNA test on these pairs. And they had each person fill out this questionnaire about their lives, what they do, what they came from. And they also put these images through 3 different facial recognition programs. And of that, they got 16 pairs who scored almost similar to identical twins. So very close, where the computer couldn't even recognize or tell the difference.
But what did their DNA say?
So.
Oh, you're getting there.
I'm getting there. So
I'm just hanging on. Tell me about this DNA.
So they found out, that they weren't related, but they did share genetic variants that were related, such as the shape of the nose, the eye, the mouth, the lips, and even bone structures. And this was the main conclusion, that genetics, put them together similarly. and that there were similar codes. But he said that it really was more just random chance that you would have somebody that looks identical to you. He's like, in the world right now, there are so many people that eventually the system is producing humans with similar DNA sequences.
The system known as biology.
Yeah.
Yes, the system known as biology. And this has always been true. But now with the internet, it gets a lot easier to find them. And it talks about like environment and behavior can cause changes in the way that a person's gene works as well. And they talk about microbiomes of the pairs and what that looks like. But those were all different too. So it's kind of like it was talking about, nature versus nurture kind of ideal. And it was talking about, no, they just they look. It's just like the roll of the dice. It's like there's so many out there. It's kind of like there's so many stars out there that there's got to be other like places that supports life just because of the sheer number of it.
They've done studies on twins that were raised separately too and found like the opposite results, that they don't look the same and they're not shaped. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the environment shaped them so differently too,
right?
Even though they were twins.
Yes, and all of that is
like the opposite of two people like in the same type environment who are not related, looking similarly.
Right. And have like maybe the same careers or do the same things and have the same body types and everything. While like the heutoscopy explains a lot of psychology with doppelgangers, Dr. Manuel Ester's probability of genetics, explains like you probably have somebody that looks like you, that somebody else could cross their paths and think that it was you. But how do you explain the little girl sitting in the room?
I don't know about that.
All right. That's my doppelganger story.
Time. Another dimension.
Demons.
Awesome.
Time. Ooh, that's another something I didn't think about.
Oh, Time Lords.
I thought about it immediately. Like, well, it could be her sister just in another time. Like
Time
she just
ship.
crossed over like the time space.
The house in between.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
That was my thought on that one.
nice.
Nothing nefarious, more like, okay, well, they just kind of overlap, like the multiverse kind of idea, but.
All right. So that'll be part 2.
Yes. After talk.
We'll talk about. Well, thank you so much, y'all, for listening.
Thank you.
Good.
We
Guys.
appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.